Hey up guys, S-Man here, back at it again with the final Horizons review of at least the first half of the series, the end of the adventure. Now, we're obviously going to continue the re-reviews as we go forward into the following Mega Voltage arc and the future of the series, but there are going to be some differences that I will explain in the first video when that comes out, inevitably. But yeah, basically, if you guys like this video, subscribe, leave a comment about what your thoughts of Horizons have been overall, because we're about to enter a whole new age of Horizons. But yeah, let's just get right into the review. Episode starts off with Terapagos destroying all of the Rucrium. Great start to the episode. Like, we immediately solved the problem from last week. Terapagos just, boom, it's all gone, permanently gone. Or what we think to be permanently gone, but as Spinel says something later, there are still, like, some traces of Luke. But, yeah, after this, Lucius thanks Terapagos for its help, and Gibeon is distraught and is lost while all the explorers look on, just watching him just grovel in defeat. This is the part I don't like about this episode, because I really like this episode, but it really just annoys me how there's so much just standing around and, like, saying something. Especially with, like, Spinel. Like, he just sits there, lets everybody have their speech, and then, like, when it comes his time, he just says, oh yeah, I'm doing my thing now. You guys are screwed. Like, why are you waiting for them all to have the speech? It's just so weird. Like, especially because he knew what he was planning on doing. Like, he seemed to have had this plan from the beginning, so why wait? Why not just perform it the second you lose? But, basically, with his loss, Gibeon is distraught, and his dream of basically helping people and Pokemon has failed. But that's when Amithio declares that as his descendant, he wants to continue his grandfather's path, but in a different way. Instead of focusing on the Rucrium being the building block, he wants to find an alternative solution, one that isn't dangerous to people in Pokemon. This does give Gibeon some closure, but he's still upset that his partner Zygarde betrayed him, and how he's a failure. And after what Amithio talks about his bonds with his Ceruledge, he realizes that his bond with Zygarde was nothing ever. Wasn't real, and he's actually a failure, a hypocrite towards his dream of basically helping people in Pokemon when his own partner Pokemon didn't like him. But that's when Lucian reassures him before they both fade away that Zygarde saw the good in Gibeon's deeds, and although the whole situation with the Rucrium was dangerous and Zygarde did inevitably betray Gibeon, but that was more just to help Gibeon see the way of his wrongs. Gibeon needed to realize that Rucrium is dangerous, and that there was always another solution to declare his dream. Wanted to help Gibeon with his dream, but also help protect the people in Pokemon that the Rucrium would have hurt. But with this, Gibeon is now at peace and leaves his will to Amithio, and while Lucius then says goodbye to the Rising Volt tacklers and his own hero Pokemon, thanking them for their help and happy that he was able to pass on his own will to Liko and the rest of the Rising Volt tacklers. But with all the goodbyes out of the way with Gibeon and his grandson, and Lucius and his descendant, they both fade due to the destruction of Rockruum seems to have basically taken away their immortality. Well, that's what I at least want to think, because we know Gibeon was basically using the Rockruum to keep himself alive, and at that point Terapagos just destroyed it. And although we do see something that could contradict this later, I want to assume that it's like that, even if it wasn't all destroyed, that all of the ones in that general facility and its effects were destroyed. But yeah, the explorers are disappointed that Gibeon just faded away, and Liko and the others notice how all the hero Pokemon are now technically wild, with their Pokeballs becoming inactive. that's when Spinel gets just stands there. After, like I said earlier, Spinel just stands there, waits for everyone to talk, and he's like, damn, okay, now it's time for my plan. He literally stands there, stares at everyone, he was like, he starts laughing because, and then goes on a monologue about how he thought he would be the true successor of Gibeon, but that was never what his destiny seemed to have been. His destiny is to surpass Gibeon. And with that, he pulls out like some device that he made that basically stored some Rucrium. I don't know where he got the Rucrium. I'm assuming it's from the drills, and he quickly made the device before it was destroyed. But with that, all the Rucrium basically, he throws it at the hero Pokemon, and they all go berserk, destroying Rockua and endangering everyone there. A little small moment is Coronax to try to like stop him, but Agate tells him to stop and to just continue following their orders, which could potentially lead to maybe their own redemption arc similar to what I'm making. But yeah, with that, all the hero Pokemon attempt to destroy basically Rockua and each other, while Spinel gives off this monologue laughing about how the Rising Voltacors didn't win by destroying their Rookwool, and he is going to continue, and he is now the future of the Explorers and not a myth. But with that, Liko tries to calm down all the hero Pokemon when they all unleash attacks on her, but Rayquaza stops them and tells the Rising Voltacors to go, and that it will take out all of the hero Pokemon. It will stop all the hero Pokemon. With that, they all recall their Pokemon and head off. Same thing with Amithio, who gives them a nice little glance of acknowledgement as he heads off with Connie and Zerk. But yeah, they're escaping, along with a lot of the wild Pokemon trying to run free from Rookua. When Friede tries to put together what Spinel really meant by it wasn't over, that's when like the fight of all the hero Pokemon causes like a little crater to open, and Liko loses all of Lucius's basically memorabilia. She loses all the journals of him, the pictures, and all the ancient Pokeballs, except for Rayquaza's. I think Roy still had that on. But with that, she's distraught that she just basically lost all of Lucius's legends so easily, and that's when Friede basically comes out and says, the legends will never be lost as long as someone is still around to tell them, and it's their job now to basically stay safe and escape Rockwood. But at that point, they really have no way to escape except for flying away. But the only Pokemon they have that can fly is Kilowattrel, which isn't big enough to carry all of them, so out comes Hatterturum, where she tells Liko that she's going to use Heal Pulse on Charizard so they can all escape. And this plan obviously works. Good job, Hatterturum. And with Liko, Dot, and Friede on Charizard, and Roy on Kilowattrel, they all fly off to basically explore Rockua. But they get caught up in some wind due from the battle below and basically the chaos that's happening of Rockua being destroyed, and they make it back to the top of the mountain. With their Pokemon all exhausted, they try to figure out how they're going to escape, when suddenly the Rising Voltacor ship comes in from the bottom. And this is where we finally get to see what the button does. It transforms the basically ship into some turbo ship, and because of that, it is able to reach its previously explained limits to save the Friede and the kids. So they all hop on the flying Pokemon to get back aboard the ship, but the winds are too strong and Friede falls off and dies, but not before you can send Cap off, keeping it safe. Now, I like that this is Friede's sacrifice, but here's the thing. I feel like this was basically their own problem, and what they basically caused this themselves. Because realistically, they didn't really need the button. Like, I know Kilowattrel and Charizard were tired, but like, you're telling me they can't just like have them like tough it out for a little longer to reach the ship? And like, they could have like, because like they said they couldn't climb down the mountain because of the battle inside Rockua is causing the mountain's like exterior to shake. But like really the whole flying thing is just weird. But yeah, Friede dies. He falls into Rockua. Also, why did they fly back over Rockua? I feel like I think that's what caught up the wind actually. not just them like using the turbo jets. It's because they flew back over Rockable, which is like became this like deadly thing because all the hero Pokemon's outrage. But yeah, that's like one of my complaints. Besides like this whole standing around exposition like beginning, while Spinel just sits there and wait, they didn't really show the effect of the hero Pokemon's battle that much. Besides the small earthquake and like little winds that were shown, like it would have been way more interesting if we see a bunch of like storm clouds like brew up. Like I don't know how that could have worked realistically, but it would have been made it like much more interesting because like especially this is like the whole My Hero effect and like there's like in this dangerous situation, but like the sky's bright blue. When they were in the like Rockwell crater, the sky started to turn into smoke. But the second they like get on the side of the mountain, the whole like smoky sky goes away, and it's just a bright blue sky as Friede dies. It really is My Hero Academia. But yeah, the episode ends with us seeing that Liko actually returned to the academy, and she's reflecting over the events 1 year later, looking about her own little story she wrote in like her notes and like drawings she's made her journey. Which I have a theory of where this could eventually go, but this is a whole endgame thing that I'm going to save for another day. But yeah, Liko, Anne calls out to Liko for them to head the class, so they do. Meanwhile, we cut to Lavencia, where Spinel is giving a press conference about his recent, because it's the anniversary of the Rockwell incident, he gives a little press conference where he's talking about him and Exceed's plans to basically restore this once Pokemon paradise after the Rising Gold attackers destroyed it with their hero Pokemon. Which I knew Spinel framed the Rising Gold attackers before I watched this episode, but I'm like, I really was confused how. But like, I kind of like the way that he frames them now that I actually like seen the episode, where he basically puts it together that his company was studying this whole Pokemon, or this Pokemon paradise, this reserve where all these Pokemon were living peacefully, but the Rising Gold attackers came in and destroyed it. And this is all basically him keeping his company's name in the good light, so they can continue, so they can quote claim restore the land, but really they're doing is just digging from Rockua, where it's actually mentioned that Pokemon around that area have been going berserk. This has anything to do with Rockua, and he actually declines this rumor and basically cuts it off. But we're gonna see the more wild Pokemon going berserk in future episodes. But the episode ends with Roy and his team declaring that they're gonna form the Rising Gold attackers, and we see Roy with the Lucario. But yeah. Overall, like I said, I really like this episode. Besides the few things I moment, like basically like the stakes, and I feel like the whole Friede like died thing basically was like their own fault, and like could have easily been avoided in multiple ways. But and the fact that Spinel just stood there and waited before he like unleashed his like master plan and like ultimate betrayal. But yeah, that's the end of Horizons, or at least the first half. Really good setup for where the future would go. Spinel is now the main villain, pulling the strings, making the Rising Gold attackers these criminals. Liko's on her own, Roy's on their own. We know Dot's doing something on her own based on like pictures, but yeah, I'll just leave that there. I'll give this episode a 9 out of 10. Really good, really great ending to basically the Lucius saga of Horizons. But yeah, I hope you guys like this video and continue to stick by me as I do more Horizons videos in the future. But yeah, with that out of the way, make sure you guys leave a comment about your thoughts on this episode. Like I said, subscribe, and that's really it. All I gotta say. S-Man, signing off.